Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Royal family. Welcome back to Royal Productions. My name is Louis. Now let's get right into this news I have for you guys today. But if you're new here, basically what we do here is cover the latest in crypto, blockchain, and structural shifts transforming the global financial system. So if you guys like that type of information, you know what to do. Now let's dive right into this news I have for you guys today. So the total crypto market is sitting at 2.5 trillion. The fear and greed index is sitting at 39, as you guys can see here. If you guys don't know what the fear and greed index is, for the people who are new, it basically means people are either fearful of the market or they're greedy of the market. They're buying too much and they're not doing the true analysis, and then they're the fear of missing out because the prices dip too low. So that's what the fear and greed index is. Okay, moving on to these markets. So Bitcoin broke that threshold of that 74,000 we were talking about. We'll look at the charts in a minute. But Ethereum sitting at 2,000, BNB sitting at 249, XRP 131. If you guys want to see the rest of these prices, pause it, look at your phone real quick. All right, moving on. So last time we uploaded a video was back here, as you guys can see, and we've been stressing about these two levels right here. It came down and broke it over here, and then it drifted back up. Of course, we knew that was going to happen. They came, liquidated some positions. Now they're coming back up. They're coming back down and doing it again. I wouldn't be surprised if it does it one more time and then breaks past this moment and then comes all the way back down. I wouldn't be surprised. But we're coming up to the end of May, and we'll cover some news about that right now. So let's move on to these articles. So Mastercard secures a New York BIT license to support stablecoin and digital payment infrastructure. Mastercard, y'all. All right. Bitcoin gauge tracking selling pressure moves into high risk zone as ETF demand slumps. So ETF demand is slumping, which doesn't make sense to me, but we'll cover that in a second. Crypto participants once again prefer dollar over Bitcoin. USDT, USDC dominance rises. Okay, the market's shaky. People are pulling their money out to where it's stable and it won't go up and down. Okay. Solana Dex Orca launches new marketplace for tokenized real world assets. They're moving into the future, y'all. These articles are telling us a story, and that's why it's important and key to pay attention. Okay. SoFi brings bank issued stablecoin to 15 million users and crypto push. And I love that. You know, I'm from Cali. We got SoFi Stadium, you know, Inglewood, all that. But my point with this is a lot of people are going to be interested in this now. I thought people would start waking up when they changed Staples Center into crypto.com arena, but you know, I guess people aren't paying attention. Moving on to the next one. Ondo Finance founder Nathan Allman dies unexpectedly. Now this is some sus stuff to me, but we'll cover this. I'll try to keep my opinion out of it as much as I can, say that for the Patreon, but this is very sus to me. If you know what Ondo Finance is doing and what they're working on, then it's crazy. This was a great person in the system of blockchain and stuff like that. He was a great leader. But anyways, all that coming up next. Stay tuned. All right, let's get right into this. So the first article I have for you guys today is Mastercard secures New York BIT license to support stablecoin and digital payment infrastructure. So again, what people don't understand about like Mastercard and a lot of these companies that run in the background, they don't deal with money directly. Okay, Mastercard is a technology. Okay, they deal with the infrastructure that's between the settlements. Okay, now they're moving on to blockchain based settlement infrastructure. Okay, Mastercard has now gained the capability to move into blockchain as a technology company. Okay, so again, look into some of these companies and understand they are a middleman that does the work. They don't deal with capital. Okay, so basically Mastercard has secured a New York BIT license, allowing them to conduct digital asset activities under one of the toughest crypto regulatory regimes in the United States. So basically, again, they're in New York, like it says, one of the toughest. So this is huge for the whole blockchain system, but basically the move highlights how major payment networks are preparing for a financial system in which blockchain-based rails operate alongside rather than outside of traditional banking systems. So again, you're gonna have these two systems merging, and I always speak about the age of Aquarius, where you have the upper line and the lower line of these two major combating sides, but also they work in uniform. Okay, they vibrate and they simulate the same trajectory of our consciousness. Okay, I'm not gonna get too deep into it. Again, I'm opening my Patreon for all that, but this is a major move for Mastercard, so pay attention to them. Not financial advice, but yeah, good. This is good for the whole economy. All right, moving on. Bitcoin gauge tracking selling pressure moves into high risk zones as ETF demand slumps. So again, them being able, like, this is going back to Mastercard, them being able to take traditional finance and move it on to blockchain and then work intertwined. You get me? But the whole idea of an ETF, in my opinion, I did not like it, because why would you need an ETF when you can just invest in the asset itself? Okay, but I understand the regulatory and some of these big people who won't move into crypto unless it's okay. So the ETFs help with some of this older money moving onto the chain and onto the market. But basically, this data comes from Swissblock. I'm going to scroll down to here where it's important. After a strong accumulation in March and April, May has flipped back into distribution. Swissblock said in its post, the risk index is now moving into a high-risk territory while ETF flows are deteriorating simultaneously. That tells us that ETF demand is no longer absorbing selling pressure effectively. So again, all that extra Bitcoin that was on the market, these ETFs would scoop them up and use them for their clients and stuff like that. But this is not happening anymore, and I personally think this is because regulation is getting more secure. We're also getting the okay to hold these assets in a bank or on a wallet as an American. So I don't know how long this ETF boom's gonna be going on, but I think that once we get true regulation, we don't really need the ETFs that are pegged to one asset. Maybe ETF that holds a basket of assets, maybe, but we're still early. This is the baby stages. We're barely learning how to stand. Okay, moving on. Crypto participants once again prefer dollar over Bitcoin USDT. USDC dominance rises. So basically, this speaks about, I just think this is how the whole economy is, but also on top of that, you gain a significant amount of yield by holding a USDT or a USDC. Not financial advice, always do your own research, but some of these places give you like 5% yield. You know what I mean? Some, depending on some of the tokens you have, you can get higher yields and whatnot. But Bitcoin's dominance rate has pulled back to 60%. And as we can see on this, I'm paying attention to this. It's coming back up. But basically, let's look at the dominance really quick. Go to my red list. All right, and basically this is the dominance that it's speaking about. Okay, and I think this is particularly hand in hand with the real world assets coming onto chain. So a lot of these real world assets will be backed by other tokens and other companies that put these onto the ledger. But the total market cap can grow, but Bitcoin's dominance can come down because these assets are not utilizing Bitcoin for the real world assets. Some might, but most likely not. They're not going to use Bitcoin. They're going to use something else that's a lot more efficient. Okay, but this is important to pay attention to the dominance, and right now it's coming down, but everything's shaky with the market right now, right? Everything is. But basically, I think that with these investments and you be like, for me personally, I like holding USDT or USDC because this is a perfect moment for me to take out some of that and put it into the market quickly without having to go through the ACH and all that with my Chase or whatever, Capital One. It just doesn't make sense to hold cash and then try to convert it into crypto and go through all that when you can just hold the USDT or the USDC. And for me, like, holding Bitcoin right now is shaky. Anyways, moving on. Solana Dex Orca launches new marketplace for tokenized real world assets, and this is what I was kind of talking about. I'm not going to cover this too much. We always cover real world assets here, but basically, and if you don't know what a real world asset is, it's basically something in the real world pegged to the blockchain, for those who are new here. But basically, the launch comes as crypto companies increasingly focus on tokenized traditional finance assets, a market many in the industry see as a major growth opportunity. And we just covered this with the whole Mastercard. Okay, traditional financial assets. This is like home. This is like the stock market. This is a car. This is precious metal, this is art, anything to do with the traditional finance market. But anyway, Solana pushes this forward with Exchange Orca, and it's a new system to help that. But yeah, all this is good news for me, because it's like we can look at these markets and we can be worried about all this red. But in my opinion, like I said earlier, we're barely being able to stand on our own 2 feet. You know, this whole total market is only at not even $3 trillion. That's nothing when you're talking about the world of finance. Okay, so moving on to the next thing. Another thing pushing this market forward, SoFi brings banking issued stablecoins to 15 million users in crypto push. So basically they are moving forward with their fintech platform and stuff like that, and they're basically able to give their clients, SoFi clients, stablecoin access and things like that. So now you can, like I said, instead of holding cash, you can hold a 1-for-1 US bank cryptocurrency through SoFi Bank, and then be able to transact with multiple, you know, vendors and stuff like that. So yeah, 15 million people being brought onto crypto. Like, again, like I said, like Mastercard and a lot of these companies, this stuff is going to be working in the background. You're not going to be aware of it. Some might be aware of it, some might take advantage of it, but this stuff is here. The news is here. Your SoFi or your Chase or whatever is still going to work, and it's still going to be the same without you seeing that traditional market changed, or that financial traditional asset, or you know, the past is still going to be there, but it's going to move forward. Okay, and onto some heavier news. Sorry about this, but rest in peace. This is some crazy news, because Ondo, Nathan Almond, it's him right here, he was a pioneer when it came to tokenizing real world assets, and for me, I just think this is sus. I think that he was trying to do it maybe in a correct way. I don't know too much. I know I'm an investor of Ondo, not financial advice, but it's one of those things where it's like when you see these type of things happen unexpectedly, like I get it, you got to protect the family, make sure, you know, their privacy and stuff like that. But what he was doing, what he was building, and the people he was sitting in the rooms with really spoke volumes about, you know, the future of what's happening. Like, I don't know. Rest in peace. It's just crazy. But anyways, Ondo Finance founder Nathan Almond has died, and the company said that in a post on X on Tuesday, without disclosing the cause. It is with profound sadness that we announce the unexpected passing of Nathan Almond, Ondo's founder. Basically, hopefully this company and what I just, like, you know, I can't really say too much. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But I also think that this funny business happening where, you know, we have to understand this new plutocracy we're moving into. That's what I think. So it's like with Nathan and what he was trying to build, maybe it wasn't aligned with the whole digital ID and the whole idea of tracking that. I don't know. I just find this very funny. Anyways, my name is Louis. Hopefully you guys enjoy the information. Check out Ondo. It's a good investment, not financial advice. Y'all have a brilliant day. Peace.